A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There's still a queue at the wardrobe, but we will start because otherwise we will get too much delayed in our program. Welcome to the second day of our Data Spaces Symposium here in Madrid. It is the third symposium after Darmstadt and Warsaw, and it is the largest ever. We had yesterday 700 people here on site, and it is impressive to see from how many countries you are here, from around the world, from 35 different countries, and I think it was a very interesting first day. I would be interested, for those of you who are here already, who is participating at the Data Spaces Symposium for the first time? If you could just... This is a lot. It's nearly half of the participants. So I think I know at least half of the others, but it is really interesting to see so many new faces also here. So it is clearly a growing initiative. And what we saw yesterday is that the concept of data spaces is being adopted more and more around the world. From China, Japan, Korea, to Brazil, to Canada, so not only here in Europe. But we also learned about apples and wine grapes yesterday. You remember the presentations? And that it is too ambitious to expect to be able to plant an apple tree in autumn and to harvest already apples next spring. For apples it takes on average 5 years. And in the afternoon, we learned about a similar approach with wine grapes. Here it takes roughly 3 years. And what we see is also that the Data Spaces initiative takes some time until the technology is ready, to produce fruits, to produce benefits for the end users. But we are clearly here now. That's why we started already end of last year, the so-called Season 2 of Data Spaces. Season 2, where it is about implementation. Adoption of the available, in the meantime, available technology. Is the technology already completely developed? No, there's still some improvement, definitely. Is it fully automated? Not yet. But can it be used? Definitely. And we saw in a lot of presentations and examples how data spaces are generating value for the end users. And this is clearly the focus on within the Season 2 of Data Spaces. And this is also the focus of the next phase of the Data Spaces Support Center, where we are preparing the grant agreement to start then in spring, I think, this year. We learned also that to be able to share data, trust is very important. Trust in digital ecosystems, trust which must be designed, which cannot be assumed, as Mario, where's Mario? Expressed it. I think I saw him. Can't see you now, sorry. Yesterday. And it became also clear that sovereignty, that digital sovereignty, does not mean isolation. For a lot of verticals, for a lot of use cases, global interoperability of data is of utmost importance. Global accessibility of data, still respecting the legal legislations in the different regions. And here, we all together have developed concepts to enable this digital sovereignty in data spaces, to enable owners of data to share their data in a trustful manner and to keep control on their data. Yeah, and then we had a great evening yesterday, unfortunately limited only to 300 people due to the venue we had. And for those of you who missed it, next year, be early to register, to get a seat at the award session. So we had this European Data Spaces Award with more than 60 applications in 2 categories, and Just Connect from Flanders in Belgium, a data space for farmers in the farming industry, won the prize, the award for data spaces in operation. And the data space Sphinx from Germany in the healthcare industry is the most promising data space. So 2 data spaces who received an award, Just Connect and Sphinx. Do we have a picture on here from yesterday evening? Andreas? No, we don't have a picture. So it is really restricted for those who have registered on time and who had the ability to join yesterday evening a great event. After the award ceremony, we enjoyed nice Spanish food. Afterwards, the DJ gave his best and the bar mixed some cocktails, so it was really a very nice event. But now coming to the next point of our program, and we will see a short video from Maria Gonzalez. She is Secretary of State for Digitization and AI here in Spain, talking about the Spanish strategy on data spaces.
Muy buenos días, lamento muchísimo no poder estar con vosotros físicamente, no quería dejar de hacerlo digitalmente. De momento la tecnología no ha resuelto que pueda estar en 2 sitios a la vez y por eso quería, aunque sea por aquí, poder saludaros y deciros algo en lo que creo firmemente. Y es que estamos haciendo un gran trabajo juntos. Estamos transformando nuestra economía y siendo un ejemplo, un país muy relevante, poderoso en el marco de los datos. El plan de impulso sectorial del dato, los espacios de datos, todas las convocatorias, hemos movilizado más de 400 millones de euros. Creo que han sido un acierto. Están teniendo una gran repercusión en el tejido productivo y quiero daros las gracias. Las gracias por arriesgaros, por trabajar junto a nosotros y por estar transformando el mundo de los datos en nuestro país. Tenéis ahí a la directora general del dato, también al director general de la ESIA, 2 piezas fundamentales de nuestro equipo, pero sobre todo tenéis todo el conocimiento reunido por el que espero tener pues, vuestras conclusiones, vuestras nuevas ideas, vuestro impulso para seguir haciendo de España el país referente en materia de impulso de los datos que es, pero que va a seguir creciendo y mejorando. Muchísimas gracias y que tengáis muy buenos trabajos.
Yeah, thank you. So making Spain a leading country in data economy, and we are not here by incident, we are here on purpose, because Spain is really committed to support the implementation of data spaces. Spain is investing and funding around 500 million euro into data spaces, so it is definitely one of the leading countries in Europe to implement data spaces for the benefits of their end users in different domains, in manufacturing industry, in tourism, in farming, in healthcare, and so on. And now I would like to ask a lady on stage. We know each other since many years. She is Vice President Research for Industry Sustainability and Intelligent Urban Ecosystems at Gartner. And please welcome on stage Bettina Trutz-Ryan. And Bettina will first give us a presentation on the Gartner's hype cycle for manufacturing. And Bettina, I think you will position the topic of data spaces. Where are we in real adoption? Absolutely. And then you will afterwards moderate a panel discussion with the topic Data Spaces at Work, Global Industry Perspectives. Thank you.
Thank
Stage
you,
is yours.
Thank you, Ulrich. Good morning, everybody. I want to take you a little bit on a different angle and journey this morning because I want to give you a little bit of the end users, so the organizations that are taking data spaces to advance their data management strategies, to build this value that we have been hearing about for the last day, and really see like what their readiness is in adopting the data spaces. So if we get started, there is a really strong conclusion within organizations today that manufacturing organizations, they encounter a new age of data exploration, because now they have a huge fundus of IT and operations data, and they have new technologies like AI, data and analytics to build new business value. Let's take a look at what we believe are the 4 triggers that are currently driving this change. The first one, of course, is when you look in manufacturing and asset-intensive industries, is the real-time optimization that we now see with edge AI. Machines and processes are actually generating a lot of different data. And if you have data on the fly, real-time information, you can actually at the edge, through machine learning, change a process, change a product composition, and starting to evolve new product value. We also have autonomous digital twins, which are the virtual instances of a physical asset or a process or a production cycle. And also here with real-time strategic data, you can actually develop efficiencies or also new simulations for a new product life cycle, carbon emission, energy intensity, and so on. We also have augmented human workforces. So with data and AI, you can actually have new opportunities to support not just the day-to-day work in operations environment, but also create through digital democratization new capabilities for the workforce of the future. And at the end, we have an industrial AI foundation that is slowly creeping into our manufacturing strategies. You have companies like Siemens and NVIDIA that providing the new faces for the Omniverse. So what I'm saying here is that there is a lot of technology discussions that manufacturing organizations have in their strategic IT implementation, OT implementations, and now they have the opportunity to look at the data dependencies across these strategies and actually build new forms of data and technology value. Now, we believe that data spaces in general can provide an extreme valuable approach for managing the vast amount of data that is in their organization. Data spaces for a manufacturing organization can put more information into their internal supply chain, right? So they create visibility, account what are resilience challenges, time to market. They can also provide sustainability in production and product life cycles, because now you can look at product composition across your suppliers, and you can actually build with digital twin more sustainable products on the fly. You can align workflows, because a lot of organizations have different sites with different technology embedded, and they also have different processes across regions and locations. So data in an internal data space can actually make that alignment happen. And of course, what we've seen already with Catena-X, you can reduce carbon emission and sustainability footprint quite significantly. But there's a twist, and when I was listening yesterday to all these presentations, it became clear. Just to have a data space concept, you cannot helicopter in a concept into an existing well-oiled engine, right? So we have to make purposefully changes to a data management strategies, to the way organizations are organized, where internally data is being based, because stakeholders that make decisions around data spaces are in a CIO, Chief Information Technology Office, some in a Chief Data Office, some in a Chief Supply Chain perspective. So you have different stakeholders that make decisions on the activities of the data spaces which need to be collected and connected together. So with all these kind of like trends and collaborations that are needed, the technology has been really a big driver in like how manufacturing organizations today are building their strategy. Now, in our manufacturing CIO survey that we do annually, because Gartner does a lot of surveys, we actually found that in 2025, CIOs and digital leaders invest in AI, Gen AI, and agentic AI, right? So this is their investment priorities. That's what they believe will drive their operation forward. But there's, for data management and for data spaces, there are a lot of other technologies like cloud, cybersecurity, trust engines that also need to be invested in. So how do you build priorities and an investment strategies that look at the resilience issues today and also make you ready for the new data economy and strategies of the future, given that Ulrich just talked about sovereignty? So the Gartner hype cycle is actually providing a good tool for leaders to actually understand the maturity of the technology, the hype of the technology. So this is just an overview of what it is, right? I'll show you the hype cycle in a second, but just to explain what it is. But it shows you basically where the maturity and the hype. Vendors are coming in with new product portfolios. There's a lot of press, trade shows of having the technology front and center. So it provides a speedometer of hype versus the ability to see the traction of that technology within business operations. And here it's where it becomes very important for all the statements that I'd given you before, is because it is about organizational readiness. If you have technologies that are on the peak, right, means like you need to be ready to listen to the community of peers to understand, is that actually a useful technology? What kind of risk do I have to get into it? Am I ready from an organizational perspective? Are my partners and the supply chain ready? If I go to the trough of disillusionments, mean that this technology, that concept, actually has generated some vendor ecosystem. Standardization is in full scale. So now we start to actually see some real footprint, some good use cases, and some technology where the risk is not so high, so the benefit outweighs maybe some of the strategic alignment that I have to make in the organization to use that at scale. So the hype cycle actually allows organizations to make investment risk and design and assign resources for these technologies in a right time and in the most efficient capacity. So a lot of people think this is a maturity curve. It is, but it's also an ability for end users and for manufacturing organizations to align their resources to their capabilities. So with that, let's look at the manufacturing operations hype cycle that Gartner publishes every year. And what you can see is on this hype cycle that actually manufacturing data spaces are on the innovation path. Just let that sit for a second. data spaces are looking into their in these specific forums that we have here today. They are very active in the standardization, but end users still feel that there's a lack of readiness in their organization to build that at scale. It's not on the hype. So let's unpack that for a second. So if you look at where we go for in a maturity perspective, we start at digital threads. Digital threads, which we see are the cross-digitalization of processes and machine data and access to technology. They're at the maturity level where a lot of organizations started to put their IT landscape and their OT landscape together. So they have product life cycles, they have cross-organizational workflows that are fully digitalized and they can talk to each other. So digital threads for very distinctive applications are in full swing. If we go up, we actually see IT, OT, and engineering technology integration. This, for the last 15 years, has been a major question in manufacturing operations because we are not just simply replacing machines just because there's a new technology. You know, it fits the ROI, it's depreciated, so this is not something that you replace easily. But the data that is coming from there is very significant for the perspectives of building operational value chains for Industry 4.0, for on-time delivery, product and production quality, environmental health and safety. So IT, OT and engineering technology is also already very mature in that perspective. Moving up to the hype. We actually see that industrial data management is at what we call the peak of inflated expectations. You go to Hanover Fair in April, I promise you everybody's going to talk about industrial data management because of why? The Industrial AI Foundation, right? So everybody's in that race right now to actually build a industrial data management that takes data from the edge, looks at real-time and event-based data, calibrates that and puts that per use case together into an industrial data management for very specific but also overarching, so specific and overarching industrial speed. But for that, we need good data management. We need good data calibration. We need a data governance structure across the organization that allows the alignment of the variety of different data sources to be calibrated, to be managed. Metadata, active metadata management is coming into play. So there's a huge issue. So why data spaces, manufacturing data spaces are at the innovation trigger? It's not because they're failing. It's just because the lack of scaled readiness in organizations to actually take full advantage of it, right? So we have innovation environments where data spaces are becoming an accelerator of collaboration and of initiatives to bring stakeholders together. For production quality within a supply chain, we see data spaces having a lot of influence. The agriculture, looking at like track and trace from a regulator perspective, Catena X from a regulation perspective, makes absolute sense. But these are not just scaled across the different industries like we would expect things to be. So data is the foundation to industry, business resilience, and innovation. So very often we ask like how we get started. These are 3 starting points. This is not all comprehensive, but these are 3 starting points that we see we can take and trigger the discussion about like why data spaces could be a good environment. The first one is data sovereignty, because we need understanding in a supply chain, in a product composition, when we have a digital twin, where do products, components actually come from, and have an ability to look into like how we can actually build digital and data sovereignty into it. We need to build a digital thread, and data standardization along like a variety of different operational and IT kind of technologies are also happening. The digital thread gives us the visibility for an entire life cycle assessment in a manufacturing environment. So building a digital thread means building visibility, traceability, and with that also skill development. And with a data ecosystem, also being able to verify and build new capabilities, because Gen AI is going to democratize the access to data, democratize the access to digitalization strategies. So you will have a full range of customers, but also industry players to be ready to work with you in a data economy. So a lot of discussions have been around like, what's the philosophy, what's the context, how we can build frameworks. Now, we need to find best practices, right? We need to help organizations, especially in the Spanish example, the SMEs, to get started, right? So we need to build a repository of how to get started based on the maturity of these organizations. So the IDSA actually built a compendium together where they want to like get from you, from your peers, from your stakeholders, the organization you talk to, how to get started. Best practices. Here's a business hack, the technology hack on how to do that. So if you can support the IDSA in that, how to get the industrial organization started would be super important. Now, of course, I wouldn't be Gardner if I would not leave you also with some recommendation. And one of the biggest recommendations for organizations that we see is actually to build a digital and data governance structure. Because if you start an ecosystem, a governance structure is helping you to guardrail, but also to invite, right? So this is a very important one. We also need to look at an identity management and access management for different data, because my OT data, you don't touch it, right? If you talk to engineering people, if you work for a refinery, their OT data you can't even access, right? So we need to have identity management that actually provides accessibility to that kind of data. And we need to get in these SMEs and industry organizations a data-first culture, right? So we're going from an operational view of data into like a culture that says, let's look at our data, we solve through data, not to AI, it's a technology, but the data will give us the insights that we need in order to drive decisions. So with that, I want to close my little talk about the hype cycle. And now I'm very privileged. Does that move? No? No. Yay. So now I'm really, really privileged to bring a panel onto the stage that will actually work with us to unroll and unveil some of these industry capabilities that are needed, the standardization that are in place, the triggers that we need from different IT and OT perspective, and a global view into what other markets are doing. So with that, I would introduce Sandra De Lucas. She's the head of Digital Initial Spain in Airbus, and also head of the Digital National Representation for Spain. Sandra, could you introduce your work and the industry efforts, for instance, in Decadex, please?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Sorry, try it again.
Hello?
Yeah.
It's better? Okay. Hello, good morning, everyone. It's a big pleasure to be with you this morning. The idea is just to provide a high-level overview of the initiative we have in data spaces. It's called DECADIX, or DECADIX. And
Sandra, you need?
yes. This one?
Just the green button. It just takes a little bit.
Yes. So yes, the presentation of high-level view of DECADIX. And I hope after the panel, we will be capable to answer these three questions. Why DECADIX is a game changer? Where do we stand today? And why join us? So start with the beginning. So the fundamental need to connect people and facilitate the trade across the globe is what drives the aviation industry. We are a very incredible, complex industry. I hope you all came to the event in an Airbus single-aisle 320 or 350, so you have experienced yourselves the beauty of the product, but it's also very complex and very sophisticated. So we design, build, and operate these complex products. And just to give you some figures, the world's passenger and the freighter fleet is expected to double in the next 20 years, meaning going from the 25,000 aircraft in service at the end of 2024 to 50,000 aircraft estimated by the end of 2044. So to meet this unprecedented demand increase, we need to face different challenges. The first one, of course, we need a more resilient supply chain. We need a more, moving from the more reactive to a productive approach to be capable to solve quality issues and all kinds of issues much, much faster. The second big challenge is traceability. So we need to be capable to have data continuity, so sovereign data flows in the entire value chain in order to meet our 2050 sustainable targets, also have global compliance, and the last challenge is efficient co-development. So we need a secure platform for IP protection, for export control compliance, and at the end for a more faster certification. I think all we are here, we share as well the challenge on how we properly control our data shared with the different partners. Well, for this successful collaboration and this data-driven decision-making process depends on our ability, our capacity to give and to get data, trusted data, in a controlled way. Well, what have we done in Airbus? We launched a project called DECADIX. Initially, it was an internal project, but now we moved to an industry project really led by the new association called DECADIX. DECADIX is a paradigm shift because we are moving from the current discontinued digital supply chain to a really decentralized architecture, where the data remains in the servers in the hands of every participant at the core of every transaction that they do. This is based on 4 principles. First one is trust, of course. This decentralized architecture provides data sovereignty and also a neutral, transparent governance to be capable to exchange data in a trusted and secure way. This is based on the trust framework of Gaia X that you heard a lot yesterday. The second big principle is interoperability. So how can we ensure that everybody is talking the same language? We aim to create a common industry language and then also harmonize as much as possible the interfaces to eliminate any technical barrier. Third big pillar is multi-tier. Here we are targeting multi-tier and also adoption at scale. We are targeting roughly 10,000 at the end of the project and 10,000 users and 90% with the target of focus on the SMEs because it means our entire supply chain is 90%. So basically, we want to share with you this morning. We will hear more I only have 4 minutes, so I want to stick to the time. We discuss later in the panel. And I just want to offer you, if you are interested to know more about the architecture, interoperability principles, and how we're making this happen, I will be happy to share with you after, during the event or after. We are unlocking the power of the global collaboration to make a success of our aviation industry. We're very proud of. So I hope you will be part of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra. This is very exciting. So let me just go through. So next in line, I would like to welcome Niklas Zaklapanakis on stage. He is the Innovation and Strategy Manager at Fujitsu and also responsible for Catena X in Asia Pacific and in Japan. He's considered a trailblazer, like we have like arrow this morning, as he's contributing to a lot of different work groups to focus on identity management, interoperability, and the EU Digital Product Passport. So, Niklas, could you identify for us the focus that you actually have and the work that you're doing?
Sure. Hi. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be with the rest of the panelists. And let me quickly introduce myself. Going forward, I'm Nicolas. I work for Fujitsu. I'm Innovation Strategy Manager, meaning I'm engaging in novelties of strategic importance from Fujitsu and trying to work together so that our portfolio strategy for global solutions and our innovation engagements, R&D activities within Fujitsu, and we do a lot, align. A few words about Fujitsu. So we are a Japanese company. We are the largest IT Japanese vendor, but we're also global. With over 100,000 colleagues of mine, we are located in more than 50 countries, and we are supporting continuously our business partners, our customers on their businesses. And we have a long history. In 2025, we got 90 years old, but we're still young in soul and heart. That's why we strive to bring novelties forward. Some years ago, we introduced the UVANS concept. And our goal with this is to provide innovative solutions for addressing business challenges and solving societal issues. We have identified 5 different key technologies that apply on several focus areas. And right in the middle, we see AI being the catalyzer, the enabler for that. So why is this relevant in the discussion we're having now about data spaces? Because we set very high goals in that. We want to, as I said, deliver business value to our partners, to our customers, and so on, but we want to have also positive social impact. Prosperous business means prosperous society. And this is really, really hard to achieve when working individually. So we believe in the power of digital ecosystems, and that's what data spaces enable. We want to accelerate collaboration between actors in value chains, in governmental sectors, in society-related use cases, to bring our world forward. With this, I would like to thank you, and I would like to pass to the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. So next in line is Thomas Rutsch. He is the CEO of Kinfinity X with an extensive view and experience in the industry, ZF and others. So he comes with a domain expertise. He also leads an operational Catena X data space. He works with SIRPAS, and he's elevating a lot of the data standardization. He has more than 45 applications in his marketplace already on Kinfinity X. And so he has made the first trade already to build that first step for organizations to actually get started on data spaces. So Thomas, your stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Which one is that?
Yeah, just the grüne.
So I'm the first time here. Great to be here, Ulrich. And I enjoyed the evening yesterday as well. So from the dance floor to the stage now. So And the 50 application or 45, which Bettina mentioned, they are Catena X certified application. You see them on the corner, right up. So we have a marketplace. So what's our task at Cofinity? We operate Catena, the productive data ecosystems for the automotive. But we are really getting more open to other data spaces as well. So we have 95 employees based in Cologne, 3 years old. And as mentioned, we started with Catena, but now we are operating also the beta environment for the chemical industry, because the supply chain, as mentioned yesterday in some presentations, you have chemical products coming to the automotive, you have steel products, so we need to bring them together. So what do? We make onboarding of data space participants, and we ensure the digital identity. We call it, that's the membership credential, the business partner number. And very important, that's what I put it on the point here, because we have a lot of software companies here. Our biggest challenge in Catena at the moment is really the scaling of the ecosystems. So we have few hundreds now changing data, but the SMEs, so the companies, they do not join the ecosystem, they join solutions. And they are really challenged with the data readiness. And that's something which we see every day with the onboarding. So how does it work? What do we do so with our 95 people? So if you come to Catena or to Cofinity on the web page, you register your company. You get a business partner number, so we validate it. We run it through a clearinghouse, and we do it international. So we have something for Europe, and we have it in China as well. And we issue the business partner number. With this number, you are a member. You are ready to join, let's say, the data space. So you get, with the business partner number, you get a connector. There are 6 or 7 certified connectors on the marketplace, which you can select, and then you are ready to change data. And that was one lesson learned in Catena. We started, let's say, with many use cases, but now since 1 year, we focus on an easy, simple use case like the certificate management. You set a connector up, you upload certificates, and you change the first time data in a data system or an ecosystem. And that really helps them to get in touch with this new technology. But more on the panel or later on our booth outside. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So the next is Stefan Hoppe. He's the president of the OPC Foundation and focusing on the semantic interoperability of IT and OT data together. He has been instrumental in the expansion of OPC into IoT Industry 4.0 globally. So can I ask you to introduce OPC UA and the relevance for data spaces?
Sure, good morning. Oh, I should have. So 2 slides, exactly. One is what is the OPC Foundation, and the second slide is what is the technology. I believe this is a really good example for a perfect ecosystem, what you might need for exactly for data spaces. Because the OPC Foundation is the ecosystem for industrial interoperability. There are more than 1,000 members across the world, strong focus here with Europe. And we have a budget this year for over $5 million without any public research money. It is just industry driven, just mostly member fees and some marketing income. We are internationally in all regions in the world. But what we are doing is we are providing semantic interoperability, and this is what everybody is also looking here. We need semantic layers. This is what I heard so much. We have public available, free of charge, the world's biggest data pool of semantic information models for the OT world. You don't have to be a member to access this. There are more than 420 models, including also other models from others which we can convert easily. 0 employees. What's really driving is the volunteers with a lot of passion. That's it. And OPCUA, and this is critically important, Mr. Ganser yesterday mentioned this, we have to think international, global. Who cares on a specific German, Spain, Spanish, European standard? It must be international accepted. So OPCUA is an IEC standard, but also local standard in China. So pretty much all around the world. What is the technology itself? A lot of people might think, oh, OPCUA is a protocol. This is in your brain, somehow. It's the last mile to the OTs, to the assets. No, it's not. Since a couple of years, I'm traveling around the world and tell people it's not. It's a super large, rich meta-modeling language. It has been defined in 3 years only. And since 2006, when we published version 1.0 till today, 20 years later, with 5 major updates, we never broke backward compatibility. That's what industry is looking for. So what is it in detail? Again, it's a super rich meta-modeling language where you can model everything, even a chair which can't communicate. But then we have multiple access and transport layers built in because the world needs different access to information. People in the field, in the factories, need super fast, near real-time information. They need a different transport of information via TCP and UDP than cloud people who access data via MQTT or REST or Web API, whatever. We don't care. And security is baked in to access the data and for the transport, validated by all authorities of the world. And this is exactly a good public available, open source, MIT license, available standard, which is available for the world. And this is why a lot of domains, you see a couple of pictures here, oil and gas industry, manufacturing, pharmacy, wind turbine, and so on, adapted the standard to create with their domain expert the semantic. And now you guess, if everything is open and open source, and specs are open, and the models are open, why the hell are the companies spending money? Because they benefit. If they trust on this, they have so many benefits out of the box. When I started 31 years ago, connecting a machine to SAP, it took 2-3 weeks. Now it's automatic onboarding in less than 4 minutes.
Super, thank you so much. This is very interesting. So the next one is Marvin Pavlik. He's a policy officer at Bitkom, working in a work group of AI and data, specifically in data economy, cloud, and data protection. He's very involved in the business outcomes of data in digital environments, such as in recent India AI Summit. You had a good position on that. So with that, why don't you explain to us your survey that you recently done?
Thank you very much. I hope, because this thing, I think it's not my slides. There we go. Thank you very much. My name is Marvin. I'm with the Bitkom, the German Digital Association, Digitization Association. We are representing 2,300 members and a lot of blue chips companies as well, and startups, over 600 startups as well. And the interesting thing about the membership is that we do not only have providers of technologies, but we also have business end users of technologies. So for every vertical and for every sector that we have, for example, healthcare, manufacturing, or mobility, we do have the end users that have to implement the data spaces in the end, and this is a good connection that we are doing in our work. We also do a lot of position papers for policy work. We do have a strong presence in the ministries and in the media, and we also do a lot of conferences. And one of the things that we very often do is we do surveys in the German economic ecosystem, and I brought you some numbers today, especially for the data spaces community. We have asked in 2025, last year, only for the German market, if the companies are already using one or more data spaces or planning to do so. And only 9% of those companies, we asked about 1,000 German companies, only 9% are using data spaces effectively. But 40%, and that's set, so 18% planned to implement and use data spaces, and 22% are looking into it and discussing it. So we do see there is a lot of discussion and a lot talking about it going on, but we only see 9% of those people, of those companies really implementing and using those data spaces. And one thing that we have seen yesterday, and we talked about yesterday, was the use of AI with data spaces. And 58% of the companies we us say that data spaces are driving the adoption and the advancement of AI, and this is something I think we can all get behind, that AI is a very important factor, and data spaces are driving these advancements and adoptions in the sector. Thank you very much.
Super, thank you very much. So the last panel member is Mishitaka Suda-san. He's the lead architect of the open data space in Japan, which is already commercially running. For the Japanese automotive industry, he's also the information analyst officer for a non-for-profit information technology agency. I hope I got this right.
Right.
So from an automotive to chemical, you have already data spaces in place. So welcome to the stage, and maybe you can give a short introduction. Please. No, you have a microphone.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Maybe you feel you're starving for coffee. I feel you. But hello, this is Michitaka Tsuda, Chief Architect of Open Data Spaces in Information Technology Promotion Agency, IPA. IPA is the most biggest enforcement body in the government for data strategies and policy in Japan. And what is open data spaces? There are misunderstandings of open data spaces, that open data spaces is like a implementation of EDC or IDCS connectors or whatever, but it's not. Open data spaces is an open and scalable architecture for distributed data management while respecting the diversity of organizations and countries. And ODS stands for 3 principles, that is vendor agnostic, regulation agnostic, and service-oriented for global PMF. So we have 0.1 billion budget per year for exclusive to this project, and I'm using that budget, all government funded, and this is only for open data spaces designing and making software, not for implementation of data spaces or AI, whatever. And open data spaces hence provides AI-friendly and product-ready data spaces architecture, protocols, and open source stacks. And we have many clients and many vertical application service using ODS are at the moment in the commercial use. For example, battery in automotive and air mobilities, and ready for chemical circularity management. Let's take battery in automotive. We have already 690 companies, including 14 major OEMs like Toyota, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Honda, whatsoever, and they're directly or indirectly using open data spaces and operating and scaling. And this is the first ever overarching heterogeneous data spaces between Catena X and Automotive and Battery Traceability Center. And we have another example as shown. And why ODS swiftly adopted in Japanese market? But this question is wrong question. Market chooses our architecture. In the sprint of creating architecture in the PMF sessions, what market need was just 3 things. First, data addressability and discoverability. Second, ontology and semantic interoperability. And third, identity and usage control. But in particular, identity and usage control is highly, highly controversial because it touches upon rights and obligations. And rights and obligation is different in each country's regulations and commercial practices. That's why we are accommodating various means of data usage control approaches, including contract negotiation, but also confidential computing on blockchains and differential privacy learnings in data clean rooms. And this is about open data spaces. And just back to Bettina. Thank you.
Super. Thank you so very much for the introduction. And sticking to the 2.5 minutes, so this is amazing, right? Mostly panels, they run over just by the introduction, so that's really nice. But let's go right into it. And I have a handheld microphone, so I'm handling a couple of different papers and stuff, so forgive me for that. But Sandra, I would like to start with you. You had introduced Decadec X, and we just heard about sovereignty. We talked about like rules and different access rights. So if you have a sovereign supply chain with a potential of connecting hundreds or thousands different partners together, how do you manage a sectoral kind of like diversity where you are so security oriented in a data space environment?
Yep. Well, thank you for the question. So, and yes, to secure data readiness for not only our internal Airbus, but also our supply chain, we come back to the three principles I mentioned before. So trust, interoperability, and multi-tier adoption. Basically, for trust, first key area I think for all of us here is the sovereignty. So basically, how can we, each participant, each company remains at the core of all the transactions. So each company defines who, when, for how long, and for which purpose its data is accessed. The second big part is the federated and decentralized architecture, where the data remains, again, in the servers, in the company premises, but and is accessed via federated services. The third part is transparency and openness. Basically, how can we comply with all the regulations, etc. So how the servers are geographically located, what is the jurisdiction being in place, so far and so forth. And the fourth part of trust is the regulatory compliance, or compliance by design, basically. How can we ensure these new regulations coming, or GDPR, export control, or the more and more extraterritorial laws, and to verify that every company entering to verify the compliance of each company or each partner before entering into the ecosystem. The second part is interoperability, I mentioned before, so how can we ensure that everybody talks the same language? And for that, we are creating this common industry language. And here as well, we are defining, or we're using open standards and trying to define a robust certification process to ensure that we're ready for scale. And for the standards, we are using as baseline the EIF, so the European Interoperability Framework. And we'll try to leverage or reuse as much as possible the Euro or the de facto standards, but we also contemplate to define our own standards if it's needed. So the idea will be the Decadix standards library. And the third part of the adoption, the idea is how can we really secure the seamless connectivity across the entire value chain from every partner, not only for the big OEMs, of course, as well, but from the global OEMs to really the specialized SMEs.
Great. So adding to this, Thomas, if I can ask you, so we heard just a list of 3 very important parts in order to drive the initial success of building a data space. From a Confinity perspective or from a Catena perspective, what are the dominant drivers for the organizations to actually participate in that data space? And what are the biggest hurdle? We heard security, we heard interoperability and whatever, to start moving in Catena X or manufacturing X chemical industries.
Yeah, let's say the most common answer would be data readiness in the companies. But you know, we selected now a simple use case with the certificate management, which is really easy to upload and to participate. And still, the point is, what is the benefit for the company? Why should they join? What is the benefit? What is in for me to join these ecosystems? Because there are costs. There are costs internally. There are costs, let's say, to join the ecosystems. So that's the biggest question which we really get. Why should we do it? And I think it really takes time that they see the benefits. And we need to scale the network. They need to connect, let's say, their suppliers as well. Not that we have only, let's say, the OEM asking or Airbus asking, hey, to join the ecosystem. They really need to see the benefits with the applications and what we are building with the data space.
Is it more about efficiency? Is it more about innovation? Because Airbus Decadec X is more about innovation, moving into this direction? Put you on the spot here.
It's really, with this economic situation at the moment, with the pressure in the automotive industry, for example, they have so many challenges, and now to join an ecosystem because they are forced, they really need to see the benefits. I think that's the biggest point at the moment. Of course, they see all the data sovereignty. Niklas presented it yesterday. They see that, but it's really what is in for them.
Yeah. Michitaka-san, you said you had over 600 organizations alone in the automotive space.
Yeah.
Are they just signed up? Or what are getting out of the business value to what Thomas had said?
I'm completely agree with Thomas, and we have same opinion that all you need is to, if your data spaces can save money or make money, that is the only motivation that company can adopt the data spaces. And automotive, for example, was vertical in application that solution that provide a solution for companies to PCF calculation, LCA lifecycle management for batteries and etc. But data spaces is on the layer of middleware. It has to have many applications to gain the money. So data spaces should be served as a managed service for SMEs and application vendors. That's why we are creating architecture as a product, because I'm kind of responsible for being an entrepreneur in the government to provide architecture as a product, because market chooses the open data spaces architecture and the data spaces architecture because they think they can make money from it.
So we just heard architecture as a product. Now, if I want to go to Stefan, we not start with architecture, we actually start with data, right? And data semantics and models. So, what's your view on how to derive business value from an OPC-UA perspective?
Well, we are in a world of money, so saving money, earning money is obviously, it's not a secret. So it is, for me, critically important is just having a great idea is not enough. I believe here in the room there are so many smart people, researchers, and you have great ideas. Honestly, who cares? If it's not becoming an ecosystem where you can get competitors together and agree on something worldwide. And this is exactly where the OPC Foundation, from my point of view, has the unique situation that we have the who is who from the OT world, the Siemens, the ABBs, the Rockwells, the Schneiders, the ABBs, and so on and so on. But also we have the who is who of the IT companies. The Amazon Web Service, the Microsoft, the Googles, the Huawei, the, hopefully didn't, SAP, I shouldn't forget. Yeah, so, and they work together and agree on something, and this is why the standard is scaling. Maybe I forgot this in my introduction. It is not only connecting to SAP, it is also to bring competitors together, all these cloud suppliers, and say, hey, shouldn't we make one USB-C connector, and then you can just push data and everybody understands it, because it's not only the data values, it's also the context of information. And honestly, I'm sorry, I'm just the president here. I like to, Erich, can you stay up for just 1 second? This is, for example, a gentleman, Erich Banchert from Microsoft. He is the initiator of the cloud initiative, and he brought together all the competing companies. And he made the architect to bring peace to the world and all the organizations where we can push data into data spaces. Because we are not doing everything. We are not doing governance. This is why we love to cooperate with ISDA, right?
Yeah. So from the perspective, Marvin, like what you just heard from your survey, what actually are these hurdles for the 6 or 9% to actually be there, but for the other 40% to being on the fence? So what is it about IT-OT integration to be better flexible in the cloud? Is it about this real value? Is it about products that need to be designed in order to get started? What do you think?
So I'd like to add one number, if I may.
Okay.
This is the German ecosystem again. 70% of the companies say that the data business model is a key factor for their future growth. So we see the urgency in data spaces and data sharing. And when you ask me about the hurdles, I think two things are very important, that we shift our view from data spaces as a governance framework more to the product side. This is what all of my panelists also mentioned, that we have the product for the companies in mind. And Thomas also mentioned it, that at Catena they do a really big focus on the onboarding of the companies. That is really important, because I think data spaces are a very complicated construct, and some people already just don't know what a data space is today, because we are all in our ecosystem here and we may all know this, but people outside of our ecosystem, maybe they just don't know. And this is something where the associations that are presented here today also can do a lot of work communicating, right, what is an ecosystem, and emphasizing the onboarding process and sharing the knowledge of data spaces, having set contracts, having knowledge that is shared, is, I think, two very important steps on the way.
Awesome. So, Niklaus, having heard all of this from a Fujitsu perspective, what's your global view? Because you're not just looking at Europe, but you're looking at Asia specific. So where do you see your customers, or where you see your organizations that you're dealing with struggling the most, and how does Fujitsu support it?
All right, so yes, we work a lot with European data spaces, also the team led from Michitaka-san, to make them work together, collaborate, work a lot with Cofinity and Catena and others. And there are multiple dimensions of challenges. One of them is conceptual, like very often, what is a data space actually? What is the difference between Catena X as an association, Catena X as a network, and Cofinity? You need to explain all this, and you need to ensure that you get on the same page. Once I think this is something important to be done, then of course you have the challenges with regards to the digital readiness and the data readiness of the organization. And at the same time, I think that I will be happy when we don't have to explain data spaces anymore, even though, like, I'm a geek, I like doing it, but I think it will be successful when we just take it for granted, like emails today. Yes, I can choose my own provider, I can still exchange emails and so on, but I don't care about how DMARC is configured, or server-side signing, or connectors, all that stuff. It should just work. Sorry, it should just work and bring value to me. How can you create value with something like this? Mm-hmm. You need a bouquet of use cases that complement each other, and they can address various domains. We would not invent the internet, roll it out, and operate it just so that we can sell socks online. Mm-hmm. We can do a lot of stuff with the internet, so online shop and so on is also part of it, and there's business behind it and so on. So we need to focus gradually more on delivering uniformly across value chains value that engage, and also address the factor of the digital readiness. And I really like that sovereignties are addressed. I think also often make the, let's say, assumption that it just, or let's say, we focus too much on the individual organization, while I think we should also focus on the organization, its partners, but also on jurisdiction level, the sovereignty and jurisdiction level, which is multi-layer. And I think to get over this, I think we need to have a coordinated action between those that enjoy the benefits. So you have big organizations that get value of that are more capable to support their SME partners, for example, to accelerate their journey. Associations for market sectors should also support, but also countries that really want to roll out sovereign digital infrastructure for own benefits, resilience, and so on, should also chip in and support companies so that they can get to the point where they can participate, not just participate, but also extract value out of that.
Yeah, this is a very interesting, sparks two questions for me, like on trade-offs, right? Because we talk about value as a general bubble, right? But what's the trade-off, for instance, if you have value in terms of like productizing something really quickly versus like what you mentioned, innovating on a sovereign basis with data spaces, for instance, for DKDX. So Sandra, looking at what was just said, how does Airbus internally make the decision on value? What are the trade-offs when you talked about like, you know, participating, putting your own data out? Like what kind of like hurdles did you have to overcome? And also, like as we talk about value, I want to unveil what is value, right? So what is the value that Airbus will get in the first place from this?
Well, I must admit, so I think internally at Airbus it's very clear that we are very aware and conscious of the challenge we have ahead of us, what I mentioned at the beginning. So we, in order to get ready for this ramp-up of aircraft delivery in the next years, we need to do something. So we know we need to help our supply chain to get more digitalized, sovereign, etc. So this is pretty clear internally, and there's no much trade-offs on that part. What is a little bit the journey we've been facing since 2024, when the first concept was validated. When we entered in the development phase, were several initiatives running in parallel. For example, Aerospace 6, probably you heard about that in Germany, with already public funding and 31 players. And in France, in parallel with DKDX, France with public funding as well. So we thought we cannot afford to have several initiatives running in parallel, so leveraging both. What we've done is create this DKDX association, really to create the legal framework, the governance, the rules, really to make this interoperability of data and data exchanges in a secure way, but only one initiative. That was the major challenge we faced so far. And that's to say, in 2025, we completed the first version of the proof of concept with 9 partners, very successful, and we delivered the first connectivity part. And the idea for this year is to increase this test to 20 partners and focusing more on automating. So what is the value? Well, more for us, the manufacturing process, obviously. So how can we focus on the automating the processes, internal and external, and focus on SMEs.
So if I would abstract what you were saying, and you can please say, Bettina, you're wrong. So if I look at what you did in 2025, if we want to say what was value, value was you started an innovation project, you invited 9 different partners, but the value of the data space and DKDX was to create an IP regulatory or like a compliance legal framework that actually ensured that the innovation, that potential that everybody puts in is actually legally packaged. Right? Yep. So it's about compliance, it's about legal, it's about innovation, patents, and so on. So that would be a value that you create out of using data spaces for innovation, right? Check, right? So that's something else. If I can talk about Thomas from a Catena-X or Confinity perspective, what would be value when we talk about the implementations of these use cases that we have in the marketplace? What do I get as an SME out of it?
Yeah, simplify it. So if you, let's say, for the certificate management, for example, you start to implement it, it takes more time than sending an email to your customer or to the OEM. But if you did it once, you have the certificates on your EDC, you can easily share it with other, let's say, customers, OEMs. So that's really efficiency, what they get out. And that's what I mentioned, that's now they share it to their customers. But if they receive the certificates also from their suppliers, that will be more efficient for them. So we can create a chain. That's what we like to do with Catena. So that's a big, big benefit.
So efficiency
Value.
in the customer engagement and the supply chain engagement, streamlining it, making it transparent.
Yeah.
Check, value. Stefan,
Here.
yeah, what kind of value can I get out of an IT-OT integration in a data space? Sorry, I'm on a mission here.
Oh, that's fine. First of all, what you mentioned is critically important with the legal umbrella.
Yeah.
This has not been mentioned, I think, at any here on the conference. Obviously, all the members of the OPC Foundation agree to never sue somebody of the members, but also of the people who implement or use it. I believe that's unique in the world. So you have a patent protection umbrella, right? That's one of the super strong arguments. But the values, it's super quick, secure onboarding, again, what I mentioned, sharing information, which is more than data. Information has a context of information in a secure end-to-end way, horizontal in the OT world, vertical up into the IT world and inside the IT world. And then partner with IDSA for data governance, Catena X, right? That's great. We love them and push data there. All the other topics like AI, I'm a little bit more skeptical. Honestly, AI doesn't need data spaces and AI doesn't need OPC-UA, to be fair. AI can also find a Modbus server with the PDF file on what does the data mean inside. But it's the opposite. It's extremely helpful to have structured information and so on, and AI is much more efficient then. But for me, this is nearly cold coffee because it's in the industry already. You can buy tobacco machines which have UA and it's public success stories. Airbus, by the way, the rocket Airbus is using OPC-UA to send data down, and they made a web conference on AI with Airbus using UA. So what are we talking about? It's not the future. It's there already.
Yeah. Uchitaka-san, you have a...
The discussion was sparked me a lot, and can I introduce one different angle to this discussion? That data spaces, when you talk about the data spaces, data sovereignty was always focused upon, but have you ever read original data spaces thesis? How many people, can you raise hands, how many people read the original data spaces thesis, which was published by US Database Academy? Raise your hands.
4
You?
people.
Just 4 people, you know, 5 people, just 5 people, just 5 people, you know. Data space in original concept, which was authored by UC Berkeley, Mr. Franklin, and Halavi from Google, was all about data management, you know. It was abstracted way of data management, so we have to face with the data management ecosystem, you know. We have centralized database management system, and at the moment, data lake house, this is 3rd generation, but distributed data management is the new paradigm shift, and we have to think about the new paradigm shift of data spaces because, you know.
I disagree. Now the last 4 minutes it becomes interesting.
Yeah.
No, I disagree. This is maybe in the IT world, but not in the OT world. The OT world made a perfect template, blueprint, how you can do it better, right? There is no data. Well, of course, old machines are data silos, but we have a concept. It's perfectly working.
Yeah, but we have IT and we have OT data. And the OT data, if people look at the machine,
And it's not different. It's not different.
Yeah, it's no difference. Abstracted, it's no difference. It's all about data models, information models.
Yeah.
So, Niklas, from your perspective, you know, like, how do you see then, we talked about data sovereignty, we talked about data management, like you have a global view. Is sovereignty one of the aspects that can be a business case or value for data spaces?
I must say that in talking on a global level, I think Europe has been having it on the table for quite a while for historical reasons, business culture issues, reasons, or societal perspectives and so on, how important privacy is and sovereignty and so on, but just having it on the table. We have accelerated here in Europe in the latest years, and I think now due to the political situation that we are, it has become a very hot topic for many more regions around the globe. So in short, it is, I strongly believe it is, but as I said, it's multi-layered. So you have to consider the single organization, maybe having a shop floor data that they need to still have in control and just share in a trustful way with selected other entities. We need to think it on business ecosystem level or sectoral level, but also on country level, on jurisdiction level, which I must say that as Europeans, we are too, let's say, European-centric, and we say, oh, digital sovereignty is important in Europe, and it's a thing that we need to achieve, and so on. We often oversee the fact that actually almost the whole rest of the world has similar views for their own digital sovereignty, and we need to embrace, and that for collaboration is important. So in short, yes, it definitely is, and it has proven itself due to the unstable times that we are in the last years.
So Catena-X talked about yesterday, we need to have a global view. So Marvin, I want to ask you, and then also Thomas, to comment on that, because what did your survey show? And then Thomas, what is your response to, we have actually a fragmented data sovereignty discussion in each country?
So when we look at the global goal, and I would like to come back to the value thing that you mentioned before, the value of it really is the competitive advantage that you get from the ecosystem, from the community, from the information that you're sharing. And there we are also really straight back to the sovereignty thing, because how can we talk about sovereignty when we don't even share our data with our business end users, with our other companies, but share it with the IT providers? So this all really comes together in the value of the competitive advantage that you have when you use data spaces and share the information that you have, and gain information that you have. And on a global perspective, as I said, sovereignty, everyone's talking about it, and this instrument, this data spaces, is really the core product I see to gain sovereignty, because as I mentioned, we need to share our data with us better than with the IT providers that maybe also already have the data.
But there's a data management perspective, because if you do sovereignty, you have to go into active metadata, right? So this has to be data ready. So Thomas.
Yeah, what we do is standards, that's what we are doing with Catena, or with the data spaces. We define standards, and the regions they are following. So Catena, we go for this hub strategy, like IDSA as well. So we have hubs in the US, we have it in China, we have it in Japan, and that's how we scale internationally. For Tractus-X, for the software development, they are going also international. So we get participants from Europe, from the US as well, to build this open source, to make these standards. So that's our way to go, let's say, global.
Super. So I think we're running out of time. We don't get any more minutes. So with that, I would really, really thank this panel. I hope you got a little bit of a different value check on data spaces. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.